wait to get some more headlines out on it. And then once, I mean, let's be honest. They've had, what was it, 3 fires or is it 4? Elon Musk was pretty open saying that it's a fifth of the rate of standard car fires. All the fires that have happened have come from pretty violent accidents. So I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid.
Yeah.
I, I would be surprised if they found something that really went against the company. I mean, I could totally be wrong here, but I wouldn't be shocked if shares fell, another good $10 before the market decides to say, okay, maybe that doesn't matter. But they're just looking for a catalyst to bid it down, I think.
Let's take a look at the levels, Joel. What are you seeing on the charts there? Are you seeing some place where this might potentially actually get a bounce?
Bit of a stop and a little bit of a consolidation here. You really can't see much. You can't really look for a bounce until at least you get a double bottom or some kind of reference point there.
You were talking about Facebook to me before we started the show here, and obviously Tesla is already broken down, but Facebook is just kind of hanging out here. And I'm looking at this chart here, and it's 1, 2, 3, basically 4 times we've been down here in this whole 45, 70, 45, 80 area. We closed at 45.83, so we closed like we got a running start at it, but we are getting a lift here out of Facebook today. What's your take here on this one?
We didn't cover the negative bear and zinc. They were talking about overvalued and undervalued stocks. Obviously, Facebook was on top of the overvalued, issues. So I think that
Okay,
had a
I
little.
gotta stop you there for a second though. Remember Facebook? What was the headline? Was a front page of Barron's when the stock was at like $20, and didn't they put a $15 price target on it?
Okay, I
Wasn't it?
know.
Remember that?
Yeah, but you tell me not to make fun of Barons,
Okay, they're
So
usually pretty good, but
yeah,
that was one of their ones I think we should call them out on. So I don't know if I'm taking anything that Barron's recommending on Facebook, but who knows here?
okay. You have multiple lows here in this 45, 80, 45, 73 area. You hit it yesterday. You are getting a bounce here in the pre-market. You have to respect that area as support until it's taken out. Looking at the pre-market trading here in Facebook, pre-market high 46.26, but you just have to imagine that if we come back again through that 45.70 area, that fifth time's going to be the charm, and you could easily get a drop to the a low that you had back here in October. You had a 45.26 low, so another 50, 60 cents after that. Below that, you could be getting into the 44 and 43 handle.
Support is supported until it's broken, though, and that 45.70 area continues to remain major support. Also, Google here, you were looking at this one yesterday, and was this thing reverse?
Could be the who's that guy, the Red Dog reversal or something, that guy in T3, when it talks about when a stock goes up and makes a new all-time high and then reverses course here, makes a new low on the day. I'm just targeting this whole 1030 area. You've had 3 consecutive lows, right at the 1029.24, yesterday's low, up to 1030.35, 3 lows in a row. And then I remember going back, a week or two, you had multiple closes at the 1030 area. So added significance to that. We're trading down in the pre-market here. Made a low, not really an odd lot here at 29.77, but if this thing can hold on to this 1030 level, we could be seeing a little bit of a vacuum to the downside here in Google. I know I've been predicting it going through 1,000 for a long time here, but it hasn't done so. The market hasn't given it the Momo to downside, but 1030 is shaping up to be a huge level here.
I do agree with your analysis on this one that this thing I think did have a reversal yesterday. Even looking at just yesterday's charts, so specific price action from yesterday, we broke out, made a new all-time high. But if you look right around 2 o'clock there, when everything else started selling off, we went straight down from that whole 1048 area. Or what was the high yesterday? 1040.
1048.74.
Yeah, so it went right from that high and all the way down to 1030 in the matter of about 45 minutes to an hour. And if you look at that chart, there was absolutely no bounce. Why is that significant when you don't get a bounce like that? Because any trader, any professional trader, any retail trader, they always look to wiggle out of their position. When they're wrong, they're looking to sell into a little bit of a bounce, sell into a little bit of a bounce. When you don't get a bounce like that, all those traders could potentially still be caught. Professionals are trained to sell into the bounce when they're on the wrong side of the trade. And when you don't get a bounce like that, a lot of those guys still could be underwater. So you might have a few people here that actually are still long this thing from the breakout that became a fake out yesterday. And that's why I think the momentum could continue to the downside as we might wash out some of those short-term traders.
And if you're going strictly just on the charts here, I mean, there's really not much support in the 10-20 handle or the teens. You did have 4 or 5 lows between 1005 and 108050. That was some trading that you had from last week. So as you can see it evidenced on the chart here, not saying it's just going to get those moves straight down, but you just got to be aware that when stocks get into these vacuum areas here,
Yeah.
there's just not much support until you get down under 1010. I wish they would split the stock. I hate saying 1010 and 1010.
That's the new cool thing to do is not split your stock. Everybody wants the big high price stock, Apples, Googles, and people don't seem to split stocks. You don't see that very often anymore. We used to always see it back in like the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. You'd see a stock would go up from 50 to 100 and they'd split it. And then it'd run up to 50 to 100 again, they'd split it. And they were always splitting the stock, but you don't see it as much anymore. And maybe it's because we've been in a bear market for a long time, but we've had good runs here in the last year or 2 years, and it's been a pretty good bull run, and there has not been a lot of stock splits. So it's kind of the cool thing to do, have the high price stock.
Coke split, remember that?
Yeah, Coke split. Okay, well, you found one there. The old, but they're traditionally, they're always split. So these new companies, Googles and stuff, I don't think they're going to split them. So it's the cool thing to do. Lots of retail earnings here today. We're kind of in retail earnings week here. Home Depot reported there around 6 o'clock this morning. They reported a great quarter. Somebody had last night it was getting bid up after hours, so somebody had an inkling that this thing might report some pretty good numbers. 95 cents versus 89 cents, 19.5 billion versus 19.17 billion. So a nice beat on the top, a nice beat on the bottom, and Home Depot here is breaking out and approaching new highs.
Don't forget the company's also going to buy back another 2.1 billion shares, or $1 billion in shares, not 2.1 billion shares, my mistake. 2.1 billion in shares for the fourth quarter, has already bought back $6.4 billion worth of shares this year, and bumped its guidance up for the fiscal year to 372 versus 370, which is what analysts were looking for. So not only was it a beat, but they're buying back more shares, and the company's raising its guidance.
And this is new all-time highs for the stock.
Right, got a spike in the pre-market up to 83 even. Since hitting that 83 even level, you did get a breakdown to 80.50. Now just kind of hanging out at the 82 level, between 82 and a quarter for the last hour. Only one number on the upside that we would have had before today, and that was the former old-time high. The former all-time high was 81.23, so we are obliterating that number. Trading in the pre-market will act as support if you come down into that area. Also down to fill the gap. 80.47 was yesterday's high. Do we have Lowe's joining the party here? Okay.
We really do, actually. It's up $1.10. That's a big sympathy move here for Lowe's, especially because it had the big breakdown yesterday from this level, and we're right back up here again. I guess people don't learn their lesson, because this was up at 52.08, making a new high yesterday, and terrible day yesterday. They're buying it right back up to the high today.
This is kind of an interesting chart. If you look at the trading activity here, you bumped up 52. Someone has a little bit of an offer there. And then you look at yesterday's trading, 51.77 high, two highs around at 52.03 and 52.08. So, as opposed to the Home Depot, who's opening up in no man's land, at least you got Lowe's opening into some identifiable resistance.
Yeah, I think there might be a few people that might take some money off the table there. If we can start breaking out above the 52.08 maybe, but it's just a sympathy move here. I'm a little bit skeptical if this Lowe's rally is going to continue to gain momentum. Looking here, Campbell's Soup. Let's go to this one. Wow, this was a disaster report. Is this right? 63 cents versus 87 cents, a 24-cent miss, and 2.17 billion versus 2.29 billion. So a big miss on the bottom, a big miss on the top, and lowering guidance too. That's Campbell's Soup, not good food here today. 39.44 trading at right now in the pre-market, which is breaking down to I believe that's a new low on the year here. Actually, it's a new low.
I'm seeing 34.30 was a low. I guess the last bid I'm seeing is at 39.50 with a low this morning of 38 on Campbell's there. But yeah, Warren Buffett cannot be happy about this one.
Is that right? We got down to $38 here, Joel?
That is correct. You got a 38 even print here. Another $1.50 away from here. You got to bounce off that 38 even print up to 39.80. So pretty wide range here, kind of hanging out near the top of the range in the pre-market. This is a big move for Campbell's Soup. It just doesn't move like this. Former low of the move you had at 39.87 back in October, so you're going to have to not only go to the dailies, you're going to have to go to the weeklies here to find some support here. And looking on the weekly chart, I mean, you're still scrambling here. You did have a low. Boom, someone had their charts out. You had a low at 37.92 back in mid-February. You hit 38 in the pre-market. I think it's a little overdone here on Campbell's Soup, so I'll use that 38. Definitely an area if it gets back down there again to cover short. Coming back on the upside, you got a ways to go to get into yesterday's range, because yesterday's low was 41.73. So it's gonna take a while for this stock to recover.
I'd imagine you're going to see a sympathy move here in some of the other food stocks as well. General Mills here trading down 50 cents, which is GIS at 50.45. I always trade Heinz with this one. Obviously, it's not listed anymore. I know Heinz was closing some plants and stuff just last week, announcing it there. So maybe that was a little hint there that Campbell's going to have a bad quarter too, when Heinz, private company now, was closing plants. But GIS trading down. Also Kellogg's. No trades on it yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if some weakness flowed into some of these food stocks today.
You have some nice support, another 35 cents from here in the General Mills at 50.09 and 50.10. That was a double bottom you had back from the 12 and 13. So keep an eye on that area if the move continues here. Pre-market trading, you do have a low, just, odd lot trades here. Nothing. Well, actually, there was a big print, but that was last night at 50.90. Is there even a trade at 50.45 there? Is an odd lot? Yeah, 632
couple hundred shares, not much. Yeah, it hasn't traded much, and you don't see this typically. These stocks don't usually have a lot of pre-market action, these food stocks, but when they do open for the regular session, that's when I think you might see a little bit of momentum. Like Kellogg's hasn't even had a trade yet, and not directly related, but it is definitely food stock, so I don't think it's good news when Campbell's misses by that much for any of the food stocks. Looking here, best buy today is the best sell. 18 cents versus 11, 9.36 billion versus 9.36 billion. So pretty decent beat there, but they had some negative comments there. Shaky Jakey, what were they saying?
Well, the company really they kind of came in with their margins on the stores or comp sales growth. Company reported comp sales growth of 0.3%. Analysts were looking for a 0.7% comp sales growth. So despite beating on the top line, they only matched, or beating on the bottom line, they only matched on the top. So looks like traders are kind of regarding this as a victory for the accountants and not for the company.
Also, they're seeing a negative impact potentially on gross margins, saying they want to be competitive on price, and that could negatively impact their gross margins. And that's a scary comment right there when you're talking about your margins getting tighter. And this stock has been one of your momentum stocks. It's been going up, up, up. Basically, didn't really even participate in the sell off yesterday, at least not as much as some of the other stocks did. But today, it's looking weak.
We got a spike down to 40 even in the pre-market. Since hitting 40, you got to bounce up to 41.50 here, and over the last half hour, 45 minutes, someone is targeting that area. Has not been able to get above 41.50, so we'll keep an eye on that. Looking at this on the daily chart, look at all that consolidation you had up there. Holding
Yeah.
the 43. Boy, that wish I would have looked at this chart yesterday going into earnings. Might have been worth a strangle here because look at that. You had 6 trading days and really didn't trade much over a buck range. Now you're spiking down to the $40 level. That's the low in the pre-market. That coincides with a 39.79 low that you had on October 15th. But just in the back of my head, I mean, I think if you're trying to pick a bottom in this stock, I think you just got to keep in mind what's gone on with the Teslas and the Twitters and the Facebooks and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people sitting on a lot of profits here in Best Buy, so this could just be one of these 600,000 of trading. I mean, you look at it, oh yeah, it's down $2. All the short-term traders, they were buying at 43. Yeah, they're underwater. But look at all these people that bought it under 30 or under 35 or even under 40. I think if this
Yeah.
thing closes under 40, get out of the way. We're going to 35.
There's a lot of people sitting on a lot of gains in this stock, and this isn't one of your growth stories here. This story of the year was a sentiment change, because in 2011 the stock was straight down. In 2012 the stock was ridiculously straight down, where it almost looked like they're in trouble here when it got down to $11. But it found a bid back in November of last year, so almost 1 year ago, went from $11.20 to up to over $44 here, or wherever the high is, 43.85. And obviously here people are sitting on a lot of gains from this year. And when this momentum turns and when the sentiment changes, and this was not good news here, stuff can obviously happen, in a hurry, and people might get nervous. I don't think they're going to buy the stock right back. Looking here, a couple other ones. CRM, Salesforce.com reported earnings there last night, in line, 9 cents versus 9 cents. Slight beat on the bottom line, 1.08 billion versus 1.05 billion. This was really chopping around after hours. Obviously got beat up with everything else that was momentum trades yesterday. Closed near the lows. Getting a little follow through. It's down another 75 cents here on this earnings report.
We are looking at a pre-market. Well, you had a spike originally when the news came out. You had a spike down under 53.50, down to 53 even. Quick bounce up to 56.50. So you're right. This is kind of the accordion-looking chart here. Now you're consolidating here at the 54.50 level. Looking at the daily chart here, just kind of been making a new high, but consolidated. Big range yesterday in the stock. Did close 30 cents off the low. Here was another issue cited in Barron's as perhaps overvalued with the PE and the sales and forward-looking numbers. Once again, yesterday's low of 55.21 and this close at 51. I'd use that area as resistance now. Coming back on the downside, you did get to 53, but you do have support at 54.20. That was the low on November 7th. But below that, not much in the 53s or the 52s until you get down to like 52.50.
Last one here we're going to talk about with earnings is Trina Solar and TSL. Jakey, you got the report on this one because it is popping again. These solar stocks never stop.
Yeah, I mean, they just hit it out of the park. It's been a great quarter for all the solars so far. Company reported EPS of 14 cents, crushing the expected loss of 14 cents. So they beat by 28 cents there on the bottom line. Revenues also coming in at 548.4 million versus expected 472.92 million. So you've gotten big beats from First Solar, Canadian Solar, Trina Solar, and a few other names recently. The sector's just been doing great.
It was reversing a few of the stocks there yesterday, obviously with the money coming out of the momentum names, but this is right back up at all time, or it's on all time highs, but right back up at new highs here. And from the last couple of years here, all these stocks were crazy back in 2007, 2008. But up at $18 here a bit, Joel. What's technical saying?
1830 pre-market high since you hit that 18 and a quarter 1830 on a couple occasions and pulled back to the 1770 level, so someone definitely has an eye out here at the 1830 level. We are breaking above all the former resistance that you have in the stock. I guess you have to go a little. I guess the weekly ain't not going to do anything for you, so let's take a look at the monthly here. And this stock had a washout once it got under $20. This is when you had the dip under five. You had a high at 1912 back in August of 2011. That's another buck away from here. So if you're not gonna try and sell it or let it go at that 1830 level, you could be seeing 19 bucks in this thing.
Let's talk about Solar City just because of the huge down move this thing had yesterday. 6, 7 trading sessions ago, it was trading up at $65. Took out 60, straight down to below 50. It was trying to climb up for 4 or 5 days, got up just under $60, up at 59.64. Consolidated for a day, and then kaplooey, the bottom falls out of it yesterday. Closed at $50.76 after opening up at 56. So lost a lot of momentum there yesterday. And now the stock here is actually down 50 cents more in the pre-market. So not getting a lift off these Trina Solar numbers here. You think this momentum to the downside continues now for the Solar City?
Usually these things get a bounce when there's good news in the sector, and now
Yeah, not
yeah,
happening.
this is perhaps a buyer beware here. Tried to sneak over the $51 level here a few times in the pre-market, not having much luck. Looking at the daily chart, you did recover from that 48.83 low. You did get a bounce. You closed over 50. You had a 40. Oh boy, I don't know. This thing closes under 50. I just don't like it. I mean, not much in the 40. From 50 down to 45, and then there's even less from 45 to 40. So this thing needs to get back and hold that $50 level. A couple more closes. Doesn't even look like a bottom's in place here. And also, if you look at it too, this is going to be next time it comes down to this area. It's going to be the fourth crack at it. So boy, Solar City not looking good on the chart.
Canadian Solar too. You'll like this one. I'm just going to bring up yesterday because it's got a double top right on the button up here. Well, close to it anyways. 33.17 was the high in CSIQ yesterday. 2 days ago or 3 days ago, the high was 33 and a quarter. It got up there yesterday morning to those highs, and then kaplooey, obviously in the afternoon when everything started selling off the momentum, straight down again. Kind of looked like that Google chart, just no bounce at all. And did find some support yesterday around 31 here, but it looks like some money was flying out of this momentum name yesterday.
Right, good call there on the double top, 7 to 33, 17, 33 and a quarter. If you are protecting profits in this one, three lows right around the 31 level, 30, 83 and 84 on the last two trading sessions, then 31, 12. 31's a major level here. You take that out intraday, you may want to let things go. There's not even support in the rest of the 30 handle. You really can't see anything until you get down to 29 bucks. So we'll see if it holds 31. We're still good to go to the upside, but it could be tough sledding. And Brett and I were talking about this stock, last week, and we had a customer calling in that was trying to, day trade the thing, and you just talk about momentum, and when the momentum leaves the stock, I mean, you look at GoGo. GoGo was going and going,
Coco.
gets up over 30 bucks, goes to 31.55, and then hey, what was it? Morgan Stanley came out with a little bit of a downgrade. They whacked it down. I'm not sure if it was Morgan Stanley, but it's so hard to and people are not apt to do it. They don't want to take profits when things are just screaming up. Instead, they'd rather lament when it goes down. But just here's an example where this stock just went parabolic up to 31.55, and now you're 6-7 bucks off that level. You're probably almost getting back to the level that it was before. I think it shot up from the $25 level when earnings, and now boy, you're coming to some critical support here in GoGo. If you're holding on to this thing below $25, not a lot until you get down to 22.
We're going to have Sang Lucci on here in 10 minutes, but he actually had a webinar yesterday on how to exit trades. And it's interesting you were mentioning, how quickly the momentum can swing the other direction. The one tip, he had 5 tips there, and his 5th tip was to sell into strength. And we'll talk about this a little bit further when he get him on the show. But this is just a classic example. You want to be selling stuff when they're going up, not when it's going down. So you want to sell when you can, not when you have to. And he also said, which was a good line, is you'll never get the whole move. So don't worry if you miss some profits and stuff. But when these things reverse and you're still stuck in them, and then you're looking for the exit door, everybody else is looking for the exit door at the same time, and it's going to get a scramble on who can get the hell out of the stock the fastest. And obviously these things can turn and reverse in a hurry. And this go-go chart, where it was trading 31.55 3 days ago, now 24.90, and the momentum's completely out of this one right now.
Yeah, you mentioned we're going to have Sang Lucci on as a special guest here. I just want to also alert our traders and investors that on November 20th and 21st, MarketFi is going to be hosting their first annual Holiday Trader Summit, and we're going to have 6 expert traders come together for 2 days to reveal their secrets and their trading strategies and stuff. So I hope everyone has a chance to attend that as well.
They're bumping me. Dick's Sporting Goods. I missed this one when I was going through the earnings reports. DKS is trading up here on their earnings report. 40 cents versus 39, and 1.4 billion versus 1.37 billion. So slight beat on the top, slight beat on the bottom. Full year guidance, they're slightly guiding up. They're announcing $25 million stock buyback here as well. So the stock is trading up here in the pre-market at $57 right now, closed at $56.37. What's this pre-market action? What's the parameters there you're seeing, Joel? DKS.
Craziness in this DKS.
Craziness.
Here. Yes, craziness. And is this your sporting good company or?
Yeah, no.
57.85 high and just turned around in a dime off. Back that came down to 56, trading at 57 here. This thing's been all over the map. Let's look at the daily chart here. Someone was leaning the right way here going into earnings. 56.72. That was yesterday's high. You're still trading above that in the pre-market. Close above that area. I'd say above 56.50 because you have the close in there as well at 56.37. I think you're good to go to the upside. I think that pre-market high, it's not out of the question here, but just new all-time highs. So you just if you move your stop up, protect some profits below 56.50, you see a little bit of a pullback.
And if you don't like trading all these high, crazy flyers, just want to give you a couple of more conservative plays that I am looking at here today. Procter & Gamble put on a double top yesterday, 84.92, 84.94. Kicking myself on this one again. Like I said, I'm usually pretty good at entering trades, and I still don't know how to exit, which is why I was watching the Sang Lucci thing yesterday. After 15 years of professional trading, I still always leave a lot of money on the table. I shorted this thing yesterday, 84.93, a penny off the top, but I ended up covering, I think, at 84.73. I took like 20 cents out of it. Obviously, the stock kept moving down after I'd covered, got all the way down to 84.18, where I'm knocking myself on the head saying, hold these things. I got to, cut my finger open and squeeze some of that scalper blood out of me because I always tend to take my winners too soon, still being the scalper that I am from all those years. But Procter & Gamble definitely got some resistance up there in the 84.90s.
Why don't you just briefly explain, first of all, before we go on to that, double bottom, 84.16, 84.18.
Double top, double bottom.
Yeah. So inside, outside day there, if we could get some action below this 84.16 level, say goodbye, 83.43. But Dennis, why don't you just go real quick into your strategy? Why? You did have the high at 84.92, but what was your primary strategy for shorting the stock up there?
Well, and I'm just looking, and then Sang Lucci probably will talk about stuff like this too. You always look at the size, and the $85 we were talking about it 2 days ago. The guy selling 170,000 shares up out there at the point. That's huge size to try to go through. Procter and Gamble, that is just an enormous order for that. Everybody's leaning on that. So I was just gambling. Once you get too close, you get like 84.98, 84.99. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're going to take it out and try to, obviously, and then they buy it and then take it through and then usually tank it. But when it's down there at 84.90, 84.92, the high frequency guys, it's a little bit too far away for them to really start leaning. You might get a few opportunistic guys. So rather than lean on that size like a penny or two off it, I usually try to lean about 10 cents down from it. And sometimes you'll see that happen, especially. And then I had so that was one thing. And then the other thing was I had the high from yesterday of 84.92. So I knew that they had done it yesterday where that had topped out. So I was like, well, it could potentially put in a double top. So I was kind of predicting that. And that's exactly what happened. It did put in the double top with the 84.94 high. But obviously, I didn't hold on to the trade long enough.
And so, 170,000, yeah, that's a big order, Dennis. But I mean, if everyone's leaning on that, I mean, how do you know that you're going to get, if in fact it did go through there? I mean, what would be your key? Because sometimes I know they go 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, and they chip away. But
Lots.
sometimes,
They'll take out.
yes,
Yeah.
someone comes in and just boom takes out the whole piece.
Yeah, well, some institution wants in, and all of a sudden they can grab liquidity of 170,000 shares. They can do it, and they also know they're going to catch a lot of people leaning on it, short it. So, if I buy the whole chunk, I can definitely catch a few people. So it's scary. When it starts to get too close, I almost get scared. Like I said, when it starts to get up to 84.98, 84.99, and it's getting too close to it, I sometimes will actually cover before, the $85 prints, just predicting that it's going to print. It also matters how long it's trading up there. So you have to, look at, how long has it been trading up here for? Has it been trading up here for the last hour in the 84.90s? So now that a whole bunch of shorts have accumulated positions, or has it been trading up here at 84.90 just for a few minutes? In this case, it had just basically just got up there again slightly after the open, and then obviously, it didn't hold up there for a long time. If for whatever reason, I was one of the first to put that trade on because I had my order out there prior to the stock opening, so I would be one of the first traders, obviously, in it. If for whatever reason it sat there and just kind of trade in the 90s for like an hour, then I'd start to get really nervous with that position because too many people are in my trade and it's getting too crowded, and that could potentially be a nasty washout if they do take that $85 guy out. But obviously, if it gets up there, it's trading 84.92 and comes right back down, which it did, not a lot of traders had time to accumulate positions, so it's not as dangerous of a trade. That's what I'll say. When it gets up there once or twice, not as dangerous. But it gets up there 3, 4, 5, 6 times, hangs out there for a while. That's when the danger is, increasing exponentially. So you got to be careful. The leaning game can work, but you got to just be very cautious with it because a lot of other traders play that game as well.
Okay, just so stock this trades pretty similarly to Procter and Gamble. Johnson and Johnson did put in a double top yesterday as well. 94.60 was your high in Monday's trading, and then you go back to the previous Monday, you had a high at 94.64. So not getting knocked down there in the pre-market, but if you get another run up, another 30 cents here, as the S&Ps are bouncing off that pre-market low, Dennis, they can't seem to get through that Monday's low at
Yeah.
84.75. Could it just be another one of those grinder days where we hit a support level and it won't give in? It's just amazing.
I don't know if I'm going to see that. I think if it takes out that low, I think you got a good parameter there. It's the 1784 quarter low that we've made here in the pre-market. We start to take that out with a little momentum. You could get a little follow-through. I love my 2-day move, which is why I was actually looking to short some stocks overnight. I didn't really, but I usually do like a 2-day move when you see a big down move where we lost 13, 14 points in a hurry there yesterday. I often think you can get another similar move to the downside. We might lose another 10. Usually then after the 2 days, sometimes you'll have a reversal day. So, but we're not really getting that much momentum here in the pre-market. So I'm a little cautious to predict that we're going to fall another 10 or 12 points here today. But we start taking out the 1784 low and getting some momentum. I might be looking to put on some shorts.
Okay, and we've talked about the support. Let's just talk a little bit about the resistance. We did sneak above the 1790 handle in the pre-market trading, got to 1791 and a quarter. So a lot of times when you hit like a round number like 1800 and it poses as major resistance, Next day, some of the sellers may be actually stepping down to the next round number, and that would be 1790. So we'll keep an eye on 1790 to 91 and a quarter, the pre-market high, and then also the all-time high close 1793.50. We're going to take a quick break here and get the mighty Sanghvi on the line to discuss some of his trading strategies. So we'll be right back with you.
Pretty good. I actually did catch your webinar there yesterday on how to exit trades, so I'm actually I'll bring that up a little bit with your 5 points there in the interview today. Is there anything else you want to specifically talk about? Oh yeah, for sure.
And what's that in? Okay, so what was it on the XLF or? That- Okay, well, I'm going to count you down and start you out, and then I'll ask you about the scholarship thing right off the bat, okay? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, traders and investors. This is Joel Alconin with Pre-Market Info, and we're here with Sanghvi.
How are you? How are you?
We're doing pretty good. Before we get started with the interview, you have the Sanghvi Scholarship Fund coming up. You tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. Basically, we do it. I think we do it every quarter. We sometimes we do it every couple of months. But basically, what we do is we hook somebody up with everything. All of our products for free. So it's a way to get all the education. It's a way to get plugged into the Sanghvi world without having to pay anything. So we accept applications, and the application process is pretty simple. Just 500 words or less. We have a couple questions, that we have them answer, and then this time around we're going to have them attach a meme to the application. Just a funny meme. I love memes, man. I don't know why, but I love these things. So we have them attach that as well, and then we go through these things, pick the best one, and that's how it goes.
Okay, that sounds good. Dennis, you want to give a shout out to Sanghvi here?
Hey, Sanghvi, how you doing? I actually caught your webinar there yesterday on how to exit trades, and I'll be interested to grill you a little bit more on that here on the show today, because I always have this problem where I've been a prop trader for 15 years. I'm always very good at entering trades. I'm kind of like a risk manager, but I always seem to get out of the position too soon. I leave a lot of money on the table. So,
Yeah, I mean, again, that's that's a character trait of most traders. I mean, you're never going to be 100%, but you do want to consistently work towards, ironing out that process and getting better.
now, saying you've had a big trade on here in the financials. Can you tell us a little bit about this trade?
Yeah. So what it was I went basket long Every single one of the major banks. So your J.P. Morgan, your Citigroup, your Wells Fargo, your Goldman Sachs, your Bank of America, your J.P. Morgan. So I went basket long, all 6 of them, when the market broke out last week through all-time highs. And if you guys remember, Yellen, the Yellen comments were pretty dovish about QE and about continuing, the Bernanke methodology and everything. So we broke out to new highs, and I was like, okay, banks haven't participated in the whole rally since we started. Maybe even during the summertime. So I figured, okay, the juice is going to run into these banks. And, I got the call right. And what happened was, on the exit, because I was so heavy in the position, when those Carl Icahn comments came out last night, or yesterday actually, during the close, about earnings being a mirage and the stocks could have a big drop, all of a sudden my bids just disappeared everywhere on my options, and I had so much size to get out of. There was really no way for me to move out of it, so I had to stomach a little bit of it and work my way out. So I was up 800 grand.
Whoa.
Yesterday I was up 800 grand. I'm looking at my P&L. I'm up 800 grand, and then all hell broke loose, and I ended up booking it for about 450,000.
So Icon cost you about 350 grand there with his comments.
Lovely Icon.
You're not going to send him a fruit basket then for Christmas.
Love him.
Love him. So okay, and you talked about yesterday, so interesting enough how like in your seminar you're talking about exiting trades and how you have to sell into strength here. Is this somewhere where you just all of a sudden Icon took you and the strength turned so fast that you weren't able to like sell into that strength?
That's exactly what happened. And there were opportunities for me to get out. The problem was that if you're not expecting something, oftentimes it happens so quickly you can't react until it's a little bit too late. And then once you miss that fraction of a second window, you're struggling to get it back. You're struggling to get it back, and you almost have to just hit market and just take whatever you can, and and then just kind of be done with it. So that's kind of what happened to me.
So you were in the individual equities, or you were in options on the equity? You're in the options. Okay.
Yeah, so always in the options, man. There's no way I'm going to be able to make 800,000 with a capital investment of 300 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Days,
You're looking
man.
at the
There's
leverage.
no way that's going to happen.
And it was the weeklies then, correct?
No, actually, you know what? Actually, this time I swung with the December monthlies. So this time around, I was planning to stay in the trade for about five days, even to a couple of weeks. So I got in the monthlies, and I used the December monthlies to give myself enough time to get in the position.
So are you buying strikes that are like out of the money kind of, or how do you like pick the strike point that you're buying?
Yes,
out of the money?
Yeah, it all depends on what expiration I'm going for. So if I'm going for a weekly, I will go for something that's closer to the money. So let's say Goldman Sachs is trading at 165 right now. If I'm trading a weekly, I'm probably not going to jump all the way to the 170 weekly because it's 5 points out on Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
The thing's worth like 30 cents. I need a huge move to be able to make some serious cash in that. So what I'll do is I'll just buy the 165 in the money kind of thing, But if I'm buying a monthly, then I'm cool. Like I'll go out way out. For JP Morgan, let's say I went out 2 or 3 points. For Goldman Sachs, I went out about 5 points. For Bank of America, I went out a whole point and a half. I was trading the 15 call when the stock was trading about $14, 14 and change. And to go out a point on Bank of America, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, and obviously, but the potential there because you can get that option real cheap. So if it does start to move for you, the leverage you can get off that when you go out that far is huge.
Dennis, man. So I bought that option, the Bank of America monthly, for 12 cents.
Whoa.
For 12 cents, and it hit 43 yesterday.
Wow. So there you go.
It hit 43 yesterday, and then closed at freaking 30 cents.
Yeah, you can make 300-400% on something in a hurry when you make the right call, and that's what is nice about going out. When you go out a little bit further, the leverage you can get. That's why Sang's going out further is to get that leverage. Correct?
Right, but it's all about the timing too,
Yeah.
because most of the time you're going to buy an option like that. Most of the time, those options go to nothing.
Yeah. They're
So
like little lottery tickets.
yeah, so most of the time, so everything again comes back to the tape and then finding the right timing for these big picture breakouts. We hit the one on Bank of America. Honestly, I think she still has 16 in her, depending on if the market decides to pull back here or not.
Okay. Also, you mentioned going in here that you like to go with the market here, and you were talking about the S&Ps, and I just what area I did pull up the chart here. Were you looking at a particular area on the futures? I know we had multiple closes around the 1767.50 level. We had that day where we opened much lower and came back. Was that the day that we had the low open, traded down to 17, I believe it was 54.50, and then came back up and closed above it?
That was the day that I started the position. You want to know why? Because I saw Bank of America put in every single one of the banks, they put in absurd moves higher. And that was the day that I started the position, because I have never, for me, because I look at the same stocks over and over, I haven't seen that type of action for months. And these things have been consolidating for such a long time. So once I see that kind of action on the tape, that's it. I'm like, all right, that's it. Let's go. Let's do it.
So yeah, because you're seeing some big money come into this name, and
Exactly.
that big money, and institutions often, just for the listeners on our show, institutions often take a few days to get into the positions that they want to get into.
Exactly.
So if you can identify when they are entering trades early enough, you can get some extended moves here, and that's exactly what's happened for you in that Bank of America trade.
Indeed. And to be honest, I mean, those are the same setups that I look for, in trading in general, because those are the big money setups that are really going to pay you out on the options. So that's just what we do.
All right. Go ahead, Dennis.
I was going to say, so what are you exactly looking at here? I'm just trying to where I was going with this. So you were saying you look at the financials, but you look at a lot of different stocks. Like what sectors or what specific stocks do you focus on? Is it all the big caps, like where there's liquidity in the options for you, or like which stocks do you pick on?
Yep, you summed it up in a nutshell. So it's all the large cap names that have volume on the options. So right now, I'll give you an example of my basket. Right now, I have all the financials, of course, because again, I was writing 1,500 to 2,000 contracts of every single one of these. For Bank of America, I had 14,000 contracts of that monthly option. So I was a good portion of the open interest in that particular monthly. So if I can't get that size, then for me it doesn't make sense to really go for it, because I can't take $100,000 and put it in that option. So you take a stock like, let's see, AZO, like AutoZone. There's no volume in those options. If I put 100,000 in one of those options, I'm going to end up moving the stock. I'm going to end up having a huge impact on the price of that stock, and that's brainless if I'm really trying to do some serious trading. So it has to be names that have, again, volume on the options. So your Facebook, your Twitter now, which is open, Amazon, Netflix, the Googles, the Tesla, LinkedIn's, the price lines, the Apples, of course. LVS is a great one. And then, of course, all the banks. And then, of course, you got your SPY as well.
Taking a look at this Facebook here, we coming into some major support here at the 45.70 to 45.80 area. I've had 4 or 5 lows within that area. Are you taking a look at this one? Are you looking at the trading action today, or what would something that would trigger? Let's say if you're looking to take a position in this, are you looking at this as a potential bottom, or are you perhaps looking for it to crack through here and get back down to the $40 level?
Honestly, I've really disliked the tape on this thing in the past couple of days. Yesterday's action was pretty crazy, and then alongside with Twitter too. So both of them were super weak. And then honestly, just looking at that tape yesterday, she is ridiculously weak. It reminds me of Tesla too. So I think she can go even lower right now. I think there's an overall weakness in a lot of the social names. Like if you take a look at LinkedIn, with the Twitter IPO, I think she can get into the 30s. So I think she's still got a little bit more to go before you can aggressively start bouncing this stuff.
Okay,
We
you
are
were
getting some. We are
yes.
getting some questions out of the chat here too, and he just wanted. We got Ed Big Gray wants you to just talk about Twitter a little bit too. You're talking about Facebook breaking down. Where do you think Twitter could go?
I think Twitter definitely you could see 35 or 36 on Twitter. The problem is like what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to every time you get a new issue like that, you got to figure out the tape on it, and you got to figure out
Yeah.
how it moves. You got to let it sit for a little bit. So this Twitter, I was watching the tape yesterday. It was horrendous. It was a very difficult to read, and the options too had really little volume. And we're seeing 100 million plus shares trade that first day, and now we're barely seeing like 7 million or 8 million shares traded on a day. So the volume is not even close to Facebook, which I was very surprised about. So I don't know. This is going to be a much difficult name to figure out than Facebook was.
You were part of that documentary, trading documentary. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Wall Street Code, man. Everybody should check that out. If you're on, if you're on YouTube, just YouTube the Wall Street Code. And what it's about was a guy named Chaim Bodick who was, who was in the HFT world, who started his own hedge fund, and ended up taking a big loser on the hedge fund itself, but learned so much about microstructure and everything about HFT and how exchanges kind of cozy up to them and provide a lot of these special order types that give these guys advantages over retail guys like myself. So, it basically kind of outlines his path through this whole world and brings in a lot of other characters who are well versed in that area as well. There's David Lauer in there, who is an HFT trader at Citadel. There's Nanex, the Nanex CEO on there, who now is so big in the space at identifying manipulation, at identifying HFT, crazy volume within fractions of seconds. His name is Eric Hunsander. There was also Petrify on there, who is the CEO of Interactive Brokers. That guy's worth like $6 billion. And then there was us stuck in the middle. Then there was the Sanglucci crew stuck in the middle. So it's a really cool documentary. Definitely, guys, check it out.
Yeah, I saw it too, and they did a great job. I tell you, editing that thing, and it was very interesting, just the way they put it all together. I really love that part too on Petterfee when he was showing the original iPad. There, he had like some big box thing that he had created for the floor. Like that's how smart this guy was. I mean, like this guy is like creating the first iPad. He's trying to get stock quotes onto some machine he's created to be able to punch them in. And then there was rules that you couldn't enter trades automatically. You had to enter them on the keyboard. So they had some machine typing on the keyboard or something because it was quicker than a crazy inventive that
this
guy
was all back in the 80s. I mean, I was born in 83. This guy had a touchpad on the floor of the exchange while everybody else was just, was just yelling orders out still. This guy had a touchpad that showed option, bid, and ask back in 83. So technology in the finance world, it took a little bit for them to catch up. But now, after regulations dropped in 2007, which was the regulation NMS, computers just took over, man. They took over the game, and basically, this is a movie to showcase that.
Talking about your financial trade, are you still lingering in that? Are you looking to take some more off here?
So actually, what's going on right now is I still have a sizable position in this Goldman Sachs, and I'm looking to just bail out of it today and be done with it and go play video games. That is the plan.
Go enjoy them.
So to bail out of it, I mean, are you not wanting to show your orders? You're waiting for, a big bid to come in there, or, imagine when you're trading something like Bank American, you have that many options on. I mean, back in the day when I would trading size in the stocks like that, I would simply, just put out layers, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Do you feel that people start, to smell out your orders and your position and step ahead of you when you do that?
Absolutely. Okay. Especially when I have size. When I have size, like I saw it yesterday, full circle, and when I aggressively come into something, the market maker sees my flow right away, and he sees me crossing the spread, he sees me being very aggressive on the offer. So what he'll do is he'll pull back his offer. He'll pull back his offer, lighten up the liquidity, and make me pay up even more for it, just because he sees somebody who's thirsty, who's hungry for those contracts. So the market makers are very hip to, a lot of the aggressive trading that I do. So I have to jump around on different routes. I gotta hit different exchanges. I even have to mess with their algorithms because, again, it's a computer that's adjusting their bid and ask. So if the bid and ask spread is, let's say, 20 cents to 30 cents, I got to ping in between and see how they move their bid and ask to around my order that's stuck in between. There's a lot of cool things that you can do. You can see where they lean. Are they leaning to more towards the bid or the offer? Can I get a fill maybe 5 cents below the offer? Can I get a fill 5 cents over the bid? There's a lot of tricky things that you can do once you understand how their systems work and how their algos move around their bid and ask spread.
Will you throw some fake bids in there just to
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. You throw in some feelers in there just to see how they move around you, and then you can figure out where you can get a better fill. And that's provided you have time. If you have no time, you got to smoke an offer. You got to smoke a bid. It's just the name of the game.
Okay, JH3 is in our chat room here, and he is like your number one fan, and he wants to contact you about that internship.
Sure.
So could you just go over that again real quick, that information?
Sure. Yeah, the scholarship, and again, for anybody who wants information on the scholarship, all you got to do is Google Sanghvi scholarship. Make sure it's 2 words on Sanghvi, and you will get it. It's the first post that pops up, and then it's a full description on what we require. And again, basically what we're looking for is 500 words. The questions are on the post. And we are also looking for a meme actually for you to send to us. So be creative with the meme, get funny with it. That's actually what I'm more interested in. If you can blow me away with a meme, that's it. You're in there, man. You're in there. You won.
Okay, just moving over here to the general market here. The S&Ps did have that sell off yesterday, and now we're kind of getting a little bit of a bounce. We couldn't take out yesterday's low. We did go by it by a few ticks in the S&P futures. Now, one of my favorite things, and Dennis and I talk about this quite a bit, is you did basically have a 15-point pullback off the $1,800 level. I like to look at the 50% retracement. That takes you up into like 92, 93s. Do you think we're going to get a bounce up to that level, perhaps to lay out some shorts, or is there different indicators that you use? And I know you like to use the overall market as keys to your entries and exits. So what without giving away your secrets here, Sanghvi, what are potential scenarios you're seeing so you can get to your video games?
Sure. So. Honestly, with the comments yesterday, it's either again the catalyst always comes when everybody's looking for it, and people react to that catalyst, when it's just time. So those icon comments just came out when it was the right time. Everybody was getting a little cautious. The market yesterday was very choppy around 180 on SPY, and they were just looking for an excuse to burn some longs and maybe take some profits off the table. So that's what ended up happening. And now the question is, do we really have follow through? Do we have that kind of follow through, that will continue pushing us lower and continue pushing us back down to where we broke from? Honestly, I don't think anything has changed here. I mean, just because this dude made some freaking comments, it doesn't mean everything. The house of cards is going to collapse here. I think QE is still going to continue, so therefore people are still going to put risk on the table. So I think we just shoot right back up to where we were, forget about the comments, and that's it. But I think it's also very choppy now. It's very choppy. It's very difficult to just buy something and make money on it. You're gonna be shaken out of your trades so many times if you try to hold these things, and that's just what kind of environment we're in. So you got to adjust your strategies to account for that. You got to think about that. You got to plan for it.
Okay, Sanghvi, I will have to say we've done several interviews on the show, and you are definitely the most entertaining. I hope our other interviewers are not listening, but Yeah, let's strike that from the record. But you give us what I like about is your honesty and your passion for the markets, and there's no in between. You're either in or you're out, and you're very
Yep.
aggressive. And I think that if people want to be active in these markets, you have a plan. Just talking to you, you have a plan, right, wrong, or indifferent, and you stick to that plan, and that's really what you need in these markets. I think that folks should definitely apply for that scholarship. In fact, Brent's doing it right now, and I want people to participate in the Market Fi seminar. So thanks again, Sanglucci, for being on, and we certainly like to have you on again.
Awesome. Thanks for inviting me, guys. We'll do this soon.
Okay, I'm gonna bounce it over to Mighty Joe Young with some morning headlines.
Bounce, bounce, bounce. Thank you to Sang Lucci for coming on the show today. And again, we put a link in the chat earlier regarding MarketFi's holiday event that begins tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern Time. We'll have 3 speakers tomorrow and 3 speakers again on Thursday, starting at the same time. Sang Lucci is a part of it, so be sure to hop on over there. It's registration is free, and you can listen in on that as well. Moving on to today's headlines, 2 new analyses of the Retina iPad mini display reveal that the device has the same color gamut as the now year-old standard iPad mini. That means its color range is narrower than that of not just the iPad Air, but rival tablets like the Nexus 7 and Kindle Fire HDX 8.9. According to Anand tests of the Retina Mini, the device's delta E, a measurement that represents the distance between the color a display is told to reproduce and the color it actually shows, is much higher than that of the iPad Air. Apple has released iOS 7.1 to developers, adding a bunch of minor changes to its mobile operating system. iOS 7.1 is available for registered iOS developers to download from Apple's Developer Center, with a full rollout likely before the end of 2013. Some subtle tweaks that might be welcomed by iPhone and iPad users include a new toggle for the dark keyboard in its accessibility settings, which allows users to permanently switch to Apple's redesigned keyboard layout. iOS 7.1 also brings improved contrast to the accessibility menu, a switch that darkens the entire interface, adding darker backgrounds to folders and deepening the background on the dock. ExxonMobil has agreed to sell its majority stakes in a Hong Kong utility and power storage firm for a combined billion with a B, helping the U.S. oil major raise funds to plow back through its core operations. Many integrated global oil companies have struggled to boost production, spending heavily on new projects in recent years. In the first 9 months of 2013, ExxonMobil, the world's biggest oil firm by market value, spent $33 billion. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said Tuesday it is opening a formal investigation into 13,100 Tesla Motors Model S electric vehicles for battery fires, 1 month after it declined to do so. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is deeply committed to safeguarding the driving public. The agency has opened a formal investigation to determine if a safety defect exists in certain Tesla Model S vehicles. The agency's investigation was prompted by recent incidents in Washington State and Tennessee that resulted in battery fires due to undercarriage strikes with roadway debris, the NHTSA said in a statement. Google has agreed to pay $17 million in compensation to 37 U.S. states over tracking consumers online without their knowledge. The settlement was for Google circumventing privacy settings in Apple's Safari browser in 2011. Safari blocked tracking cookies by default, but Google overrode the settings to track users both on desktop computers and iPhones. Eric Schneiderman, New York State Attorney General, announced the agreement and said the technology giant had violated not only their users' privacy but also their trust. He went on to say that consumers should be able to know whether there are other eyes surfing the web with them. Samsung said on Tuesday its Galaxy Gear has become the world's most popular smartwatch, with sales reaching 800,000 units since its debut 2 months ago, defying some market concerns that the accessory would fail due to a lack of compelling features. The South Korean firm said gear sales have been better than its own expectations, and it would expand sales promotions for the wearable device for the crucial year-end holiday sales. Samsung has poured marketing resources into the gear with heavy advertisements and collaborations with fashion shows to seize leadership in the wearable computer market after the device got off to a rocky start after being critically panned by reviewers. A record 9 automotive manufacturers will exhibit at the 2014 Consumer Electronics Show, renamed the 2014 International CES, as automakers seek to convince consumers that their brands have the best and most up-to-date onboard electronics. The show's organizers said Monday that Audi, BMW, Chrysler, Ford, General Motors, Kia, Mazda, Mercedes, and Toyota will showcase their latest technologies at the show in Las Vegas on January 7th through the 10th, just a week before the press preview days at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. U.S. poison officials are sounding new alarm bells. The culprit, single-dose detergent capsules that have a candy-like appearance. In the past year, they were involved in roughly 10,000 cases of exposure involving young children, according to the American Association of Poison Control Centers, though the capsules are only in an estimated 7% of U.S. households. Before the capsules became widely available in the U.S., they were typically about 6,500 cases a year of young children accidentally swallowing or coming into contact with liquid or powdered laundry detergent. Serious injuries were rare. There are warning labels on them, are there not? And I mean these kids. Are they Mensa candidates? They must not be. Sony, which meets with investors this week about improving the company's entertainment unit performance, has hired Bain & Company to identify $100 million in cuts, a person familiar with the situation said on Monday. Sony Chief Executive Officer Kazuo Hirai is hosting a conference on November 21st at the company's studios in Culver City, California, to discuss his strategy for entertainment. The cuts will also include job losses, said the person, who asked not to be identified because the moves haven't been announced publicly. Sony's shares rose after this announcement. PayPal said Tuesday that customers of Uber, the car service startup, can now pay their fares using PayPal. Uber also happens to be one of the highest profile customers of Braintree, the payment gateway company that PayPal parent eBay agreed to acquire for $800 million less than 2 months ago. The term selfie has been chosen as word of the year by the publishers of the Oxford English Dictionary, beating out twerk and a host of other internet and social media related terms such as Bitcoin that have exploded onto the verbal scene in recent years. It seems like everyone who is anyone has posted a selfie somewhere on the internet, Oxford Dictionary said on its blog, without offering an accompanying selfie of the writer. If it is good enough for the Obamas or the Pope, then it is good enough for word of the year. Use of the term selfie to mean a self-portrait typically snapped with a smartphone and shared over social networks has risen 17,000% in frequency over the past 12 months, Oxford Dictionary said. Selfie. I don't think I've ever posted a selfie.
Lies.
Well, that
No.
explains a lot, Joel, actually. I mean, okay, no, that's true. Not true. I have taken a selfie, but I don't post it on the internet. It's usually when someone wants to see my new haircut. So, in today's trivia tidbit, in just 272 words, President Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address 150 years ago today. Heyo!
Fun fact there.
Fun fact indeed. Who doesn't love them a little Abraham Lincoln?
Joe, you sent me a selfie. It's with the fat cat. You gotta. I think it's a glass of scotch.
Wow, a
And
selfie
it's-
with
No,
a cat too.
No,
Yes.
That's
no,
the
Brent.
ultimate internet picture.
That's not
there.
accurate because I didn't take the photo. Somebody else did.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Uh-huh.
The definition of selfie.
The
Now we're getting
definition of
technical.
selfie, it says right here, the use of selfie to mean a self-portrait typically snapped with a smartphone and shared over social networks. I did not post it on any social network, and I did not take the photo.
Well, then you might be mad that I Instagrammed that.
No comment, but it was a pretty good picture with my boy Benny. So, Lori, if you're listening, Benny is now famous on the show. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to my news desk compadre, Jake the Snake.
Thanks, man. All right, guys. After that thrilling dive in of the selfie, I think maybe we'll go back to some market-related news here. Do have a lot of stocks moving this morning. Most of them are earnings fueled. Get the party started with Home Depot. That's Hotel Delta's the ticker there. Company reported an EPS of 95 cents versus 89-cent estimate. Revenues came in at 19.5 billion versus expected 19.17 billion. Company also announced it will buy back another $2.1 billion worth of shares in the fourth quarter, and it has already bought back $6.4 billion of shares this year so far. They released some guidance, bringing in their fiscal year EPS goals at 372. The street was looking for 370, so far the issue's been doing pretty well. Saw a close at about, what was that, 79.63 after the close yesterday. A high this morning of $83 flat. Last trade I'm seeing is at 82.25, so keep an eye on Home Depot at the open. We also had some earnings from Medtronic. That's Mike Delta Tango reported earnings there. EPS came in at 91 cents versus the 90-cent estimate. Revenues came in at 4.19 billion versus expected 4.18 billion. They also guided their fiscal year 2014 EPS from 380 to 385. The street was looking for 383, so that left the estimates right in the dead center of the range. Shares haven't been doing much in the pre-market. I see one trade down to 58 bucks. Closed at, what was that, about 58.29 yesterday, so not a whole lot of action. Keep an eye on Medtronic at the open. We did also have earnings from Best Buy this morning. Bravo, bravo, Yankee. The electronics store reported EPS of 18 cents, which expected 11 cents. Revenues came in exactly in line at 9.36 billion. But the company did release some comp sales growth that disappointed investors. The growth came in at 0.3% versus expected 0.7% from analysts. They also are expecting some pressuring on growth margins due to their current pricing. We saw a high in the pre-market. It jumped up real quick to 44.75 and then spiked down to a low of $40 flat. Last trade I'm seeing is at 41.30. Keep an eye on Best Buy at the open. Looks like we've gotten a lot of action so far. Pretty high volume in pre-market trading. Expecting that follow through to continue at the open. Campbell's Soup also reported this morning. That's Charlie Papa Bravo. Company closed it around 41.82 yesterday, dropped to a low of 38 bucks this morning. Last trade I'm seeing is at 39.50. That's fueled by an EPS report of 63 cents that missed the street estimates of 87 cents. Revenues came in also thin at 2.17 billion versus expected 2.29 billion. They also guided the fiscal year 2014 EPS between 253 and 258. Street was looking for 259. So Campbell's Soup shareholders getting a little bit punished by that report. Keep an eye on it at the open. Shares are down quite a bit as it is. Also had a report from Trina Solar, another solar provider knocking it out of the park here. EPS came in at 14 cents versus the expected 14-cent loss. Revenues came in at 548.4 million, beating street expectations of 472.92 million. Shares rallied hard this morning. We had a close yesterday of 16.20. They hit a high of 18.30 this morning before chopping around a bit and selling off. It's currently at 17.58. Keep an eye on this one as we're getting close to some all-time highs here. Last all-time high I'm seeing, it's an intraday high of 1784. Joel, what do you think of this Trina Solar here? That's a Tango Sandy Lima. I know these solars are kind of ridiculous, big momentum names, very volatile. I don't know if what you're thinking about on it for today's chart.
Looking at this Trina Solar here, we did make a pre-market high at 1830, and now we've backed off to the 1757 level. So let's take a look if we can rally back into that $18 area. I expect to find some resistance there. Obviously, the seller was there before. Now looking at the downside here, so since hitting that 1830 high, it's kind of a bit of a slow melt here. Just made a low here at 1756. So the selling was getting done early in that. If you're looking at for to sneak into yesterday's range here, you'll have to have a bid out around the $17 level, as yesterday's high was 1692.
Thanks for that update, Joel. We are going to keep an eye on the solar sector as a whole. Going to hop over to First Solar real quick. That's Foxtrot, Sandy, Lima, Romeo. Shares are up very slightly this morning. Saw a close of 62.86 yesterday. It looks like we're seeing last trade of 63.20, so keep an eye on that one. Also going to take a look at Canadian Solar, another one that's been showing a lot of strength recently. So towards the end of the close yesterday, all these solars were selling off as a lot of the Momo names are letting out air. We saw a close of about 30.99 yesterday. Low this morning of 30.80. I'm seeing most recent trade of 31.38. So Canadian Solar's on the rise as well. Obviously, we want to keep an eye on the solar ETF. That's Tango Alpha November TAN. It is ticking higher right now. I'm seeing one trade at 40.68. A low this morning of 39.50. So keep an eye on that one at the open. Trades very thinly in the pre-market, but once we get to the open, there should be some action there.
Want to take a look at that Canadian Solar, Jake? You did have the major move up to 33 and a quarter, potential double top 33.17, 33.18. But the area I'm looking at on the downside here, three lows between 30.83 and 31.12. That's your major support here. You did sneak around it. Really didn't get there in the pre-market yet, but keep an eye on 31 in order to keep the party going here in Canadian Solar. And then moving on to First Solar, as Dennis would say, or you would say, the best in breed here. Just hanging on to some support here as well. Not really getting a boost from the Trina Solar earnings, but what you have to be looking out for in this issue, same kind of technical formation. Couple lows bunching up at the 62 handle. 62.29 was yesterday's low. I would use that as the parameter. Breaks to that 62.29 level. Support at 61.10, then down at 60.
We did also have earnings this morning from Dick's Sporting Goods. Company reported EPS of 40 cents versus the 39-cent estimate. Revenues also came in strong at 1.40 billion versus expected 1.37 billion. The company also announced that they're going to add $25 million to its buyback while raising its fiscal year 2013 EPS guidance from a range of 260 to 265 up to a range of 262 to 265. Street is still looking for 264, so while they narrowed their range to the upside, the street guidance or street estimates are still at the high end of their range. They also guided their fourth quarter EPS $1.04 to $1.07. Street's looking for $1.06, so the street remains at the high end there. We had a close yesterday in this issue at 56.32. Saw a tick higher this morning at 57.85 before some radical trading all over the place. Seeing a low of 55.93, I believe is what that print is. The most recent trade I'm seeing is at 56.30, so it's roughly flat right now. Keep an eye on this one at the open. It's been trending higher over the last, about almost 20 sessions there, and with a beat on the bottom line and a beat on the top line, you might get a little bit of fuel. Joel, this chart actually does kind of look technical over the last couple of sessions, with that low of 50.31 was that back in late October, and that high of 57.85 this morning. What do you think on this one? Because we've got a decent earnings report, nothing too crazy on the guidance. They did add to the buyback to get that headline in there. Do you think that could give us some fuel for a technical breakout, or what are you thinking?
Well, it looked like it already did have the technical breakout here in the pre-market as it sprinted over $57 at 57.85. I don't like the action here coming back after hitting that 57.85 level. You sold off $1.50 right down, just made a low at 56 even, getting a little bit of a bounce. So when there's this much fundamental news out on a stock, I like to keep an eye on the close. If this thing opens up, holds at 56.37 close, then yeah, I think we can start to move into that uncharted territory up to 57.80. On the other hand, if you can't hold that open, that close off the open 56.37, pre-market low of 56, yesterday's low at 55.85. You just might want to be one of those scenarios where people are selling into the good news.
Last issue I want to take a look at before I hand the mic over is Tesla. Joe did mention earlier that the company is experiencing some downside from a news of a investigation from the NHTSA over the Tesla Model S fires. Now, the company had a big drop yesterday of almost 11%. It opened up higher. I think it hit a high of, was at 136.43, closing down just above the $120 level. Got as low as 115.55 this morning. Has since rallied above the $120 level. So it looks like it's some traders hopping in, maybe buy the rumor or sell the rumor in this case, buy the news. Kind of an interesting case with Tesla. Joel, I know this one's absolutely nuts, but yesterday was a total technical breakdown. Not really news fueled from what we saw. What do you think on this one? Because it looks like maybe we're just getting some technical action to the upside now.
Shorts have to cover sometime, right? And somewhere out here in the pre-market, you did make a low in the pre-market, I believe at 115.55. We had to go back a while on the charts here to find some support, and we did find some between 116.18 and 116.51. Those were some lows that you had on July 18th and 19th. Got through it by a buck. Now you're quite a ways. You're 4.5 points away from that. So if we come back down to that area, I expect to see some bids coming in. At least at 155.55 being the lowest of those levels, and maybe we'll get some kind of retracement. Back up of this huge move off the 190s. I guess for Tesla here, if you're trying to cover short or pick a bottom here, you need a couple days of consolidation here, perhaps, and then identifiable low to trade off. But the rumors and the news just keeps coming out and hitting this stock, so just have to keep an eye on that 116 level.
That covers it for the earnings-fueled movers and some of the headline movers this morning. Brent, I don't know if you want to hop into anything here. I know that we are getting close to that market open, and you guys will want to take over there. So I will hand over the reins here so you guys can take it at the market open.
I'll try to really quickly get in a couple of the top upgrades, downgrades for this morning. It was pretty quiet on the analyst side of things. Credit Suisse upgrading shares of Vail, Mike Tango November to outperform. Citigroup upgrading shares of QAgen to neutral. Oppenheimer upgrading shares of Mead Johnson to outperform. A couple of downgrades. Raymond James downgrading shares of Walgreens to market perform. Stifel Nicholas downgrading shares of Viropharma to hold. And getting back to Raymond James downgrading shares of Whirlpool to market perform. We did have some new coverage on shares of VIP Shops from HSBC, that firm initiating an overweight rating and $126 price target on shares of VIP Shops. Also, Mizuho Securities initiating Qualcomm with a buy rating and $88 target. And then Credit Suisse making a call on some of the cosmetic names. Avon with a new neutral rating and Estee Lauder with an outperform rating. And then we did get 5 new buy ratings on shares of Endurance International Group, that is ticker Echo India Golf India. Have new buy ratings from Goldman, Credit Suisse, Jefferies, Wells Fargo, and Cowen. And that is the opening bell. What do you got to say, Joel?
Ding, 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 ding. Here we go. Unchanged in the S&Ps here. We settled at 1788.75. That's the second highest close. Trying to get up over unchanged here. Couple levels to look at on the upside. 1791 and a quarter. First of all, that's our pre-market high. So if you want a continuation of the rally on the upside here, you surely need to get back over that 1791 and a quarter. I see more resistance coming in also at the former all-time high close of 1793.50. Now, Brent, I did have you. I wanted you to do some digging here on Microsoft here. I'm not sure what's going on with the stock. We did have that major downgrade yesterday coming in from Bank of America, speculating on the transition process here. It looks like some people woke up on the wrong side of the bed here with Microsoft. We are now just made a low in Microsoft here at 36.72. I want to alert our traders to that level, 36.72. That is the lowest that this issue has traded since it had that big gap up and run off of earnings. You had, 36.90 was the former low of the move. You have gotten down to 36.72. Probably now start finding some resistance once you get into the 37 handle. 37.07 was yesterday's low. So look some for resistance in Microsoft here if they can get off to the mat, get back into the 37 handle. In order to fill the gap here, it missed it by a penny here. So Microsoft 36.72 is a level to keep an eye on.
Nokia holders did officially approve the deal with Microsoft, so it may be a bit of a sell the news type of trade here this morning on shares of Microsoft. I did just have a issue. Caesars acquisition opened. We were talking about this in the chat a little bit earlier. Caesars acquisition opened at $11.90 per share. This is a spinoff from Caesars. The ticker on Caesars acquisition is Charlie Alpha Charlie Quebec CACQ.
We'll see if we can get some technicals in that.
I think Joel, either you said it or Dennis said that you'd get back and maybe see if you could have a little reference in a couple days on this one.
If our traders still on here, I mean that opening price, the actual opening price 11.90, is always a good indication for the remainder of the day. Also, just keep an eye on the close too. I mean, you look what happened with the Twitter and the opening and close within 20 cents of each other. Then that turned out to be a key level as well later on. Looking at the open here, I guess the only real surprise here is that down whoosh in shares of Microsoft. Now, I was correctly identifying the gap. The high on the day before they released the earnings was 36.71. You got the 36.72 in the pre-market, so it looks like shares of Microsoft here are just dying to fill that gap there and resolve the technical pattern here. S&Ps are still struggling here to get over settlement. I'd like to see a bounce into the 1790 handle pretty quickly here within the next few minutes, or we could be meandering down and testing that low at 1784 and a quarter. Yesterday's low 1784.75. We're talking a little bit about Procter & Gamble. Dennis was describing that major institutional resistance up at 85. Well, you're getting a little bounce here in shares of Procter & Gamble, but traders should be aware if it goes through Friday and Monday's lows, 84.16 to 84.18 here. We made it 84 and a quarter low. That level doesn't hold up, and Procter & Gamble could definitely be giving back some of these profits it's had for the last few trading sessions. Really an unusual move here for Procter & Gamble.
Doing my part on the news side of things, there are some headlines coming out of a Morgan Stanley conference right now. That's the Morgan Stanley Global Consumer and Retail Conference. Procter & Gamble exec saying company is reaffirming fiscal year 14 guidance and says expecting to buy back between $5 and $7 billion in 2014. Just a couple of headlines hitting on P&G right now.
Okay, Brent, thanks for that timely update here. Just want to alert our traders of this Google trading here. Kind of had a crazy day yesterday. Went up and made a new all-time high, and then came back down. Made a new low on the session. I'm going to be watching this 1030 level here. You had three lows right in this area over the last few sessions. You did dip below it to 27.21, but now you're getting back above that level. So for you Google bears out there or bulls, this 1030 level is shaping up being an important technical level. Moving on to some other issues here that we covered. Facebook. Don't call it a breakdown until you actually take out the level here. Multiple lows in the 45.80 area. We did hit that yesterday. Another low at 45.73, going back a few other sessions. You did open up here, got a bounce to 46.50, but you're coming down. Bulls will be protecting that $46 level, but below that, below the lowest of the lows is 45.73. So Facebook just clinging to some major support here. Twitter, bad day yesterday, getting a little bounce in today's session. Let's look at the early trading in shares of Twitter here, TWTR. And the issue is currently trading up 64 cents. It's 41.78. Yesterday's low you couldn't quite get to 41.27. Lows today's session 40.85. So call that whole $41 area shaping up to be pretty good support in shares of Twitter. Looking at Key Bank here yesterday. It was key for Key Bank to get over 13 yesterday, and it did not. Now you have a series of three lower highs going on in the issue. Today's high is over the 1280 level, 1283. Just a slow moving stock like this. The settlement becomes an important level. 1282 was the close. You ticked a penny above that to 1283, and now you're trading back down under the settlement, 1266 low. No major support until you get to the 1245 to 1250. 1245 to 1250 level. That was three consecutive lows at the beginning of November. So that's the support we're looking for in Key Bank. Also, Home Depot impressed Wall Street today with its earnings. Well, they were more impressed during the pre-market session here as the stock got up to $83. But in the regular session here, shares of Home Depot did have the former all-time high in Home Depot. I believe it was around the $82 level. Let me pull that up for you traders here. Stock is busting out here to the upside. Was trading at 82. When you go back to boom. Well, you did. The former all-time high was 81.56. We've taken that out. 83 was the pre-market high, so we'll be keeping an eye on that level.
Low shares trading up about 1.33%. They will have earnings out tomorrow. Mind taking a look at that one, Joel?
We talked about that as a potential sympathy play in coming off the good Home Depot news. Looking at the chart of lows here, we talked about that potentially opening up into some resistance. You had multiple highs at the $52 level, 52.03 and 52.08. Yesterday's high was 51.77. So what they'd like to do is they like to stop at a number right in between there, and that's what they did. Got to pop out the 51.85 off the open. So not a lot of huge follow through in the low. Still trading up 67 cents, but that $52 level is really shaping up to be some major resistance. Let's take a look here. Shares of Microsoft came a penny from filling that gap at 36.71, made a 72 low. Now you're sneaking back into the 37 handle. We will keep an eye on yesterday's low, 37.07, as a potential resistance point, and then you go up to the close at 37.20. So a little bit of a follow through there on the big downgrade from shares of from Bank America yesterday.
Joel, I'm watching shares at HP this morning. The company did announce last night a strategic cloud partnership deal with Salesforce. Shares trading up more than 1%. Also waiting on earnings from HP. Those will be out next Tuesday. That is November 26th. What kind of levels are we working with in HP?
Hewlett Packard used to be HPQ back in the day, but HPW.
HPW?
Yeah,
HPW it
yep,
is.
yep. That stock is finding some resistance here. I mean, did get the pop off the open, but you got three lows at above 25.30 here. 25.31 was your high from 3 days ago. Matched yesterday's high at 25.38. So not loving the chart on this one, Brent. So I'm seeing major resistance here. Just getting back to the S&Ps real quickly, we talked about the resistance at the close. 88.75 was the second highest all-time close. We have gotten to 89.75 in a regular session here, and now we are cascading here towards the pre-market low of 84 and a quarter. 84.75 was yesterday's low, so a big moment of truth here for the
Uh-oh.
S&Ps. Yeah, we could. I see no major support until we get down to Thursday's low at 12.77 and a quarter. But what this bull market has been so prone to do is it just will not give in. But perhaps we could see a day. Just a hint to our traders out here. Dennis was looking for stocks to short yesterday off the close. So when Dennis gets bearish, that's a pretty bad sign for the market.
Agreed.
Early gains in Facebook are not holding up here. We did sneak under $46 to 45.88. Now we're getting a bounce off that. So don't call it a double bottom, triple bottom, quadruple bottom. What would it be five? Quintuple bottom?
I don't know. We're gonna have to go to our math expert for that one. Erica, I don't see her in today yet, though.
Okay. 85 and a quarter low, just inching towards the pre-market low of 84 and a quarter. We'll see what the market can do to bust out of here. If there are any other issues in the chat room that you traders are active in, I'd like to take a look at. Throw them up here. We have a few minutes left in the broadcast. We'd love to get to them.
Probably a good time to once again plug the MarkFi Holiday Trading Summit. I'll have Jake drop a link in the chat. This is going to be on Wednesday and Thursday. Going to be hosting a bunch of traders. It's going to be a couple hour long event. Also, this week we'll have Hubert Centers on the show tomorrow. Entrepreneur and trader will be giving some perspective during this time of craziness in the markets. Also have Stephen Bigelow from the Candlestick Forum on Thursday. Couple of earnings. Heads up, tonight we'll have Lazy Boy. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, we'll have Lowe's. We'll also have JCPenney, Smucker, Staples, and Deere. And then tomorrow night after the close, we'll have L Brands. We will also have Williams Sonoma and Jack in the Box. And one of those Momo names, Green Mountain, will be reporting tomorrow after the close. Heads up for that name. I don't know if you want to take a look at Green Mountain, Joel. It's kind of a Momo name recently.
Yeah, it's been kind of quiet though, as kind of the hedge fund guys have a little bit have been ignoring it. Let's go. Ooh, look at that chart. That doesn't look like a healthy chart to me here. You did get a nice bounce up to the $65 level. Should be resistance going into earnings here. We had a high in today's session so far in Green Mountain. Let's see, what did we hit? Quite a ways from 65. We got a high in today's session at 63.65. We've already taken out yesterday's low here, so that 65 level was high yesterday, 65.09. Then if you go back to earlier in the month, you had another high at 65.39. So quite a ways away from here now, coming back on the downside. We did get a back up to yesterday's low, 62.94. That will be resistance, but no major support in Green Mountain Coffee until you get down to the double bottom at 60.43 and 60.65. After failing to clear the close here, Brent, this market could be in for a little bit of trouble here. We are coming down to the pre-market low of 84 and a quarter, now ticking 84.75. This is the level we need to hold, or we could actually see the index have a nice decline on today. Next major support point would be 1777 and a quarter. That was our low for Thursday. So, folks, we'll leave you here on yesterday's low, which is also the pre-market low, and we'll be back tomorrow with an update on the markets.